Okay guys, so today I'm going to teach you how to install the centOS on a VmWare. That's the virtual machine workstation. So the centOS is a community enterprise operating system that attempts to provide a free enterprise class. Red Hat is also a Linux distro which has adapted the centOS, because first of all the centOS was not managed by Red Hat, but now they've adapted it to extend its features. So now CentOS is officially owned by Red Hat Enterprise Linux. The CentOS is actually very good for server operating systems. So we are going to download the CentOS. So first of all, we are going to find the CentOS 32 bits or the i386 architecture. That's best for our virtual machine. Since we don't want our CentOS to be consuming all our memory, we are going to find the 32 bit. So we are going to find the mirror downloads, then we are going to download the nearest mirror. Since I'm in Ghana, Africa, I'm going to download the one from Zambia. So I'm going to download this one. So I'm going to choose the live DVD ISO. We have the CD ISO, but it's preferably we go to the DVD ISO. So we choose this one. And since I have it already downloaded, I'm not going to save it. I'm just going to cancel it. Okay, so after downloading, you can download the VmWare. To find the VmWare, you can go to cat.ph and find the VmWare version 9. We are going to use the version 9. Sorry, VmWare 9. So we are going to download the VM Workstation 9. I think this one is preferably, so you can download it. So after downloading, you are going to click on VmWare and install it. If you don't know how to install VmWare, you can go to their official website or Google some videos on YouTube and you're going to find how to install VmWare. Okay, so since I have VmWare already installed, I'm going to open it. Then here we have the home panel from the VM Workstation 9. This is the home panel. That we can create a new virtual machine. We can open an existing virtual machine. We can connect to a remote server, or we can virtualize our physical machine. Virtualizing your physical machine is creating a new virtual machine from an existing physical machine. That's if you have a server, you can actually virtualize it and have the files running on your laptop. Here you can also connect to a remote server virtually. So what we are going to do, we are not going to deal with this aspect. We are just going to create a new virtual machine. So to create a new virtual machine, you are just going to click on create a new virtual machine. This form is going to pop up. It's going to ask you whether you want a typical installation or a custom installation. We are just going to go with the typical installation because that's the easy way to go. Then we click next. Then it asks us whether we want to install from an installer disk or an ISO image. We don't have the disk, we are installing from an ISO image, so we are going to choose this option and browse the location of the ISO. So I have mine over here. I'm going to choose it. We have a warning here saying it cannot detect the OS. Don't worry, you can just move forward. Then you are going to choose, it's going to detect it over here. We have a whole list of Linux distros, but since we are installing CentOS, we are going to use the CentOS OS. We should be careful not to choose the CentOS 64, but just the CentOS OS. Then we go to next. Then we can name it here. Let's say CentOS distro i386. Then we go to next. So here we can customize our memory size, our external disks, the file location, the size we want our CentOS to use. It's recommended that we use 30 GB. So we can either store it on a virtual disk or on a multiple file disk. Then we move to next. So here's where we customize our hardware. We can allocate more memory for our CentOS to run on the VmWare, or we can actually increase the processors, but we are going to just stick to the default configuration. It's advisable not to go below 1 GB. So we are going to close it and we go to finish. Well, we've not done yet. This is just the beginning of the CentOS. As we have the virtual machine details over here, we can see that the configuration file is stored on our document virtual machine folder over here. and the status is powered off, so we have to power it on. We've not installed it yet. We have to power it on and continue with our installation. So we are going to click power on this virtual machine. Well, so we are waiting for the centOS to boot into the user interface, and you can see here it says install centOS as you would on a physical computer. When you are done and the operating system boots up, click finish installing. But since we are not done, we are not going to click this. We are just going to close it and wait for our installation to be done. So we can switch to the full screen mode over here. Yeah. And let's wait for centOS to boot into the GUI interface. So here is performing its basic kernel internals, mounting your local file system, enabling the ETF and f-stub swaps, and also initializing your init component and processes. So we are just going to wait for the wizard to complete. Okay, so here we can choose our language, English, then we can select our interface, either the genome or the KDE. So let's just go with the genome. Then it's going to ask you automatically log into the system after selecting option yes. Well, here we didn't set any password, so we are going to be able to access our system. So let's wait for GUI to load completely, then we will continue. Okay, so since we have this, we've not installed it, we are running a live CD. If you have this interface showing, doesn't mean you've installed it. We are just running a live CD, so we are now about to install it. So on your desktop you can find all these icons, but we are going to choose install to hard drive. Then you can right click and open, or you can double click. Okay, so here the installer pops up and it's going to ask us to continue to next. It's going to ask us to select a language, English. Then we want the basic storage devices. This one is going to install on the storage allocation that we initialize for the virtual machine to use. We are not going to specialize in a storage device. We're just going to use the basic one. Then we move to next. So here is going to examine our device. It's going to ask us whether we should discard any data or keep any data. We are just going to discard it because we've allocated 20 gigabytes for the VM to use. So we are just going to keep it. And it's going to ask us apply my choices yes. So we are just going to click it and go on. So the installer is going to examine our storage devices. And it's going to ask us to choose a live host name. Well, you can use localhost or any name that you choose. Then we can move on to next. Choose your country. So here I'm in Ghana. I'm going to choose Ghana, Accra. That's the city that I'm in now. Then we move to next. So here you have to choose a root password. You have to make this password very secure so you don't forget. Or if it's a weak password, it's going to tell you it's a weak password. But don't worry. Said you have, yes, it's a weak password, but we are going to run it anyway. Okay, so that's going to ask whether you should replace the existing Linux system. Yes, we are going to select the default option over here. Also, you can encrypt your system. That's your external hard disk. I mean, the 20 gigabytes you initialize for CentOS is going to be encrypted so that nobody can access it without the right authorization. Then we move to next. So the installer is going to examine our processes. It says writing storage configuration to disk. You say yes, write it. Okay, so it's performing, the installer is formatting. Okay, now the installation has begun. since the installation is a long process, I'm going to pause the video and wait it for it to finish installing. So we'll come back and continue. Okay, so since now we are done installing, we are going to do a little bit configuration, because you need to update your system, otherwise it won't be functioning well. So first of all, to upgrade your system, you have to make sure you are connected to the internet as you go to the wide auto, since your centOS or your VmWare is going to be bridging with your original operating system. You can have internet access straight from here. So you have to open your terminal. That you come to System Tools, then you go to Console. So the console is going to start up here, and here I'm not a super user, so I'm going to get into the super user mode. To get into super user, you use this command su -#. Going to ask you for the password that you entered while you were installing. Okay, so now I'm a super user. I'm a root now, so I can update. To update, you have to type yum update, which is going to find a repository and perform the basic update. So after updating,